Okay, and here we are for part 4 of our video tutorial. This time we're going to start with item number 6 on our instructions. So we are going to mix violet and lamp black together. I'm going to use the tray that I had with the lamp black, and I'm going to add violet to that because I still have a bunch in there, so why not? And you're gonna wanna go a little heavier on the violet here because black is our dominant color. So if we wanna see the violet a little bit more, we're gonna use a little bit more of it. And we're gonna go back to our flat brush and mix those together. And just like when we were doing the blue background, it does not have to be perfectly mixed together because we're gonna get a little more texture in our strokes if it's not. All right, so you're gonna go ahead and load your brush up. And I apologize, because this is so low down and I need to stabilize my canvas a little bit, I'm gonna have to stand directly in front of it for a minute. But we're just using smooth, relatively straight strokes for this. You can follow the curve of the blue up above a little bit, but it's not super imperative. And don't worry too much if you can't see a lot of the violet mixed in with your black, because we're going to go back in and put in violet lines to create some of the texture of this ground. All right, once you have that painted in fully, then we're going to go ahead and put some more of the violet in a separate spot in our palette. We're going to take our smaller of our pointed brushes here, and we are going to just use some short strokes to add a little bit of, it's actually even more pink that I want on there, to add some ground texture. And we're going to do these more along the top edge of the ground and less along the bottom. That's going to give us a little depth of perspective. Next, we're gonna go ahead and, well, let's rinse that brush out because we're gonna be using it again in a minute for our leaves. So for our leaves, we are going to paint clusters on using the Scarlet Red. Scarlet Red. And once again, we want to use our smallest brush for this again. To make sure that that is devoid of purple. And if you get to a point where your paint water is so colored that it is coloring your brush when you dab it off, you can go ahead and change out your water. All right. So we're gonna do just we're gonna make clusters of leaves, and we're gonna do that by doing short dabs in various sections. And you don't have to fully cover the branches here. It's really up to you how much coverage you want to give with your leaf clusters. I'm feeling like this is early spring, so I'm gonna do my clusters mostly around the edges of my branches, which is where we would see them in the spring before we have really a lot of greenery, or any greenery in this case, on our tree. Now, I don't want to lose the white of the moon as my focal point, so I'm going to kind of avoid putting clusters over the direct center of my moon. But you do you, boo. help to take a step back from your work too. Give you a perspective of the overall drawing. I'm going to do that right now and see if there's anywhere else I want to put leaf clusters. There's not. I'm happy with that. All right, so you're going to wash off your brush, and now we're going to add some highlights with the permanent pink. Now, it does say in the instructions to use a small detail brush to connect the clusters to the tree. My leaves are feeling very connected to the tree for me, so I am actually going to skip that step. And I have also discovered that I don't have any more room in my palette, so you can either use a section of palette that you have some space in, like I have room over here in my purple or my red, or you can go ahead and take a moment and rinse out a spot or wipe out a spot so that you have more space. I'm going to use the same spot that I used for my red to add my pink. Now, here's the thing. This kit has 3 size brushes, and really to get all of the effects that one would want with, to get it art painting to really look like the demonstration one, we would need more than 3 sizes of brushes. So we're gonna go in with our pink, but we're gonna be super careful to just use the very, very, very tip of our brush so that we are getting small, small pink dots and not as large as our red ones were, because this is really, the red is the dominant color here, and we just want some pink picking it up a little bit. We're also going to go back in and do some white dots. And yeah, so just the very, very tip of your brush for these pink dots so that they really are just highlights to the red. And you're not going to want them quite as numerous as your red either. You're going to do these in smaller quantity with smaller dots. And these do not need to go directly on top of your red dots either. They can be sort of intermixed. Now you can see my dots are actually getting a little bit bigger than they were when they started. So I'm just gonna wipe off my paint for a second, use my fingers to sort of make my brush pointy again. And then I'm gonna go back in. now we're going to go back and do the same thing, but with our white. If you have white left that you can use, go ahead and use that. And if not, you can find another spot on your palette, or once again, clean out a spot if you need to. And we're just going to dot again. Kind of like these flowers are picking up the moonlight a little bit. And once again, I'm going to roll my brush because my little dots are getting a little bigger than I'd like them to be. All right, that actually brings us to the end of the instructions that we had to follow from the kit that they gave us. But I want mine to have a little more highlights and lowlights, a little more shadows where they would naturally be coming from the moonlight there. So if you want to stop here, that is cool. I'm going to end this section of the tutorial. But if you want to do a little bit more, then go ahead and move to the next video with me, and we're gonna put in some highlights around the base of the tree like you see in the picture that we were given, but that are